One important aspect of the game is to understand that each unit is sitting on its own health dial. The human vanguards, for example, start with 5 hit points, and when they are damaged, you simply adjust it all the way down until 0. At that point, they are killed and removed from the board. The human vanguard, like all other vanguard units, though they go by different names, are probably one of the better vanguard units in the game. They work together, they have synergies, and those synergies help them to create a good defensive front line for the human army and their more damaging units in the back. Vanguard units are probably one of the most important units in the entire game. In using their defensive abilities, they're able to keep the other armies at bay. Other vanguards for other armies have more offensive capabilities, but those are unique to the armies to which they belong. The humans utilize their vanguard as a synergistic staple. All vanguards have a movement style that is different from their counterparts in chess. For example, a vanguard is able to move forward, backward, or side to side, and he's able to attack in any direction diagonal. When a vanguard is next to another vanguard and they engage in combat with an enemy troop, the vanguards add a +1 to their defensive rolls. This is called shield wall, and it is one of the vanguard's passive abilities. Another troop type is the ranger. Now, the rangers are a very special unit. The ranger units move and attack a lot like a knight in chess. However, he is primarily a ranged unit. If the knight were to attack this zombie, the zombie would have no recourse. The knight makes one attack and then the turn is over, unless the zombie dies. If the zombie dies, he has to take its spot. The ranger also possesses abilities like Magical Arrow. Magical Arrow allows the ranger to shoot any unit within range 3, which means 1 to 3 spaces away from the ranger in any direction. This is a special ability and consumes one of his special ability points. Another great thing about the Ranger class is that they're essentially king hunters. Every attack that they make against a king comes with a passive ability called Regicide. Regicide allows them to add 1d4 to every attack that they make against a king, at range or in melee. While the Ranger class is primarily a ranged unit, he is able to attack in melee. If he moves to the position of the zombie and performs a melee action, a normal round of melee will occur, meaning that the Ranger attacks, the zombie defends, the zombie counterattacks, and the Ranger defends. If he's unsuccessful in killing the zombie, he returns to his position. Another troop type I'd like to talk about is the warrior. Now, if we were playing chess, he would be a rook. He moves like a rook and attacks like a rook, but that's where the similarities end. The warrior classes generally will provide a buff to troops around them. For example, the human warrior, who adds a +1 to defense rolls for any adjacent troops. The undead, for example, provide a negative bonus to enemy troops, or a malice. The warrior troop type for every army is different, but they all have the same base mechanics. Every warrior has an ability called Juggernaut, and when used, if this unit moves 3 spaces or more to make an attack, it adds a +1 to that attack, and that's in addition to any bonuses that he may already be giving himself. Another standard type of unit is the cleric. Clerics are a healer type class. They go by different names in different armies. However, the cleric is a healer as well as an attacker, primarily with magic. He's also quite adept at melee and defense. For most armies, the cleric's health pool is not as deep as the humans. This is their elite unit. All cleric class units are able to heal. It's a 1d4 generally, and they're able to heal any unit that they can see without obstruction, up to 3 spaces. They also have a magical attack ability. Generally, it will provide a debuff to the unit that is defending. Sometimes it's a -2 to your next attack or a -2 to your next defense roll. The cleric moves and attacks much like a bishop in chess, and they can choose whether to do so in melee or ranged combat. The wizard, or in the human case the sorceress, is much like the queen in chess. This class is possibly one of the most powerful pieces on the board. They generally have a health pool which is not very deep, although they can cast magic from very far away with very, very strong effect. Almost all wizard classes have special abilities like Magical Barrier, which allows the wizard to cast a 1d4 in addition to their normal defense roll. Some wizards, for example, are able to even cast it on another unit which is defending an attack. All wizards have an ability called Extrication. If you find yourself in a difficult situation, you can use a special ability point to travel all the way back to your starting position. If that position is occupied, you take the nearest adjacent position. Of all the troop types in Kings of Kirth, the King is by far the most powerful. He generally possesses the most health as well as the highest degree of damage and defense. He rolls 2d6s instead of a d10 or d12, for example. All of the Kings of Kirth are very different from each other, although they do possess some traits which are identical. For example, they all move much like a king in chess. However, some kings, the smaller races for example, will move 2 spaces instead of 1. This is called a nimble trait. This is the human king, King Johann. He's a holy paladin. He's able to use his special ability points to cast something called Holy Smite, which adds a d4 to any attack roll that he makes. While he may not have the most abilities of any king, he is very powerful. All the kings in the game are essentially raid bosses. A standard troop would have a very difficult time taking him down alone. Therefore, it's a team effort. The kings are crucial to being able to take advantage of winning the Soulforge victory condition, as they must occupy the center stage for 3 turns without getting killed in order to win the game. That particular victory condition prevents defensive players from turtling, or playing so defensively that you can't win against them. As the kings are the object of the game, you can win by either killing the king or using the king to claim the Soulforge. It's important to know how to use this character without sacrificing them. The entire game is built on the lore behind the kings and how they're interrelated to each other in one way or another. This character is probably the most fun to play.